The examination chamber hummed with an eerie blue luminescence as Elsa stepped through the reinforced titanium doors. Around her, the observation deck filled with representatives from 17 different species, each eager to witness what they assumed would be a spectacular failure. The human exchange cadet had become something of a curiosity at the Galactic Military Academy, a novelty from a backwater planet recently admitted to the Interstellar Coalition. Verk, a Zenthari warrior standing nearly 3 meters tall with chitinous armor plating and 4 muscular arms, watched from the competitor's waiting area. His mandibles clicked in what his species considered amusement. In the 3 months since Elsa's arrival, he had observed her struggling with equipment designed for species with enhanced musculature, her slender frame dwarfed by the Academy's infrastructure. She was weak by galactic standards, everyone knew it. "The human will not survive the first wave," announced Coordinator Thex, a crystalline being whose voice resonated through quantum vibrations. "Standard combat examination protocol, 10 waves of increasing difficulty, projectile weapons prohibited, melee and enhanced physicality only." Elsa rolled her shoulders, her movements economical and precise. At 1.7 meters and 68 kilograms, she represented the average physical parameters of her species, parameters that placed humans in the bottom 15th percentile of known sapient races. Her planet's gravity was a mere 9.8 meters per second squared, laughably weak compared to the high-gravity worlds that produced warriors like Verk. The first wave materialized. 3 combat drones configured to match the strength of a standard Rigelian soldier, approximately twice human capability. The observers leaned forward, some already preparing to document the humans' defeat. Elsa didn't charge. She didn't adopt the aggressive postures the Academy taught. Instead, she fell into a stance that looked almost relaxed, her weight distributed in a way that confused the biological mechanics experts in the crowd. Her breathing, they noticed, had changed. Slower, deeper, more deliberate. The first drone lunged with mechanical precision, its strike calibrated to incapacitate without killing. Elsa moved like water, her body shifting microseconds before the impact point, redirecting the drone's momentum with minimal contact. The machine stumbled past her, and in that fractional instant of imbalance, Elsa's elbow struck its central processing unit with surgical accuracy. The drone collapsed, sparking. "Luck," someone muttered from the observation deck. The second and third drones attacked simultaneously, having calculated her movement patterns. But Elsa had already changed her rhythm, her nervous system, evolved to track predators in Earth's diverse biomes, processing multiple threat vectors simultaneously. She dropped beneath one strike, used the falling motion to generate rotational force, and her legs swept through the second drone's knee joint at precisely the angle required to shear its servos. The third drone recalibrated, but Elsa had already closed the distance. Her fist, small by galactic standards, impacted the drone's optical sensor array. The observers with advanced vision noticed something remarkable. The human's hand had struck with her knuckles aligned perfectly to distribute force through her skeletal structure, her body weight transferred through her legs, her core rotating to multiply the impact. The physics were elementary, but the biological precision was extraordinary. Wave 2 arrived. 5 drones configured to Zenthari strength parameters, 4 times human baseline. Verk's mandibles stopped clicking. What happened next would be analyzed in tactical databases for generations. Elsa didn't fight the drone's superior strength, she used it against them. When one grabbed for her, she turned the grab into a fulcrum, using the drone's own force to redirect it into its companion. When another struck, she absorbed the impact across her entire body structure, rolling with the force rather than resisting it, dissipating energy that should have shattered her bones. The observers began to understand something unsettling. The human wasn't strong, but she was efficient in ways that bordered on supernatural. Every movement served multiple purposes. Every breath optimized oxygen delivery. Every muscle fiber fired in perfect synchronization. There was no wasted motion, no excess energy expenditure. Impossible, breathed a Kaltorian physiologist. Her combat efficiency rating is exceeding 94%. Most species achieve 60% at best. By Wave 5, the drones had been configured to Cravathi parameters, species known for their savage gladiatorial culture, with strength ratings 8 times human baseline. The examination chamber's safety protocols engaged, reinforcing the walls. Surely this was where the humans' luck would end. Elsa's breathing remained steady, but Verk noticed something the others missed. She was sweating, her body's cooling system activating. On most worlds, overheating during combat was a fatal flaw. But humans, he remembered from xenobiology studies, could run for hours while their prey collapsed from heat exhaustion. They were endurance predators from a planet where persistence hunting had shaped their evolution. The 5 massive drones attacked in coordinated patterns, their algorithms adaptive and merciless. Elsa moved through them like she was dancing to music only she could hear. She targeted joints, sensory arrays, power conduits, every strike placed with anatomical precision. When one drone's blow connected, catching her shoulder, the observers winced at the impact that registered at 4,000 newtons of force. Elsa stumbled, her shoulder clearly damaged. The medical team prepared for extraction. Then she smiled. The human rotated her injured shoulder experimentally, winced, and adjusted her fighting stance to compensate. She had just calculated how to fight with a compromised limb, in real time under pressure. The drones attacked again, and Elsa demonstrated why humans had dominated their planet despite being weaker than their prey. They adapted. Wave 6, Wave 7, Wave 8. The examination chamber's atmosphere became charged with disbelief. The combat difficulty had escalated to levels typically reserved for testing elite soldiers from high-gravity death worlds. Elsa's body bore multiple contusions. One eye was swelling shut, and her left arm hung at an unnatural angle. By any reasonable assessment, she should have been unconscious. But humans, the observers were learning, had evolved with a peculiar relationship with their pain response. Adrenaline flooded her system, suppressing pain signals, sharpening focus, increasing strength beyond normal parameters. Her species had literally evolved to become more dangerous when injured. Verk stood motionless, his 4 arms forgotten at his sides, watching something that challenged everything he understood about combat. He had trained for 15 cycles in the Zenthari military traditions, had fought in the arena wars, had earned his rank through demonstrations of raw power. This human, this fragile being from a weak gravity world, was redefining what combat meant. Wave 9 materialized. 3 drones configured to match the physical parameters of a dreadnought-class warrior, species specifically engineered for war, with strength ratings 15 times human baseline. The examination chamber's automated systems flagged the configuration as potentially lethal even for most cadets. Coordinator Thex moved to abort the examination. This has gone far enough. Don't, Elsa's voice cut through the chamber, amplified by the comm system. Her words were steady despite her labored breathing. Don't you dare stop this now. There was something in her tone, not anger, not bravado, but absolute certainty. The coordinator's crystalline structure flickered with uncertainty, then withdrew the abort command. The drones attacked with overwhelming force, each blow capable of pulverizing reinforced combat plating. Elsa didn't try to match their strength, she couldn't. Instead, she did something that would be taught in advanced tactics courses for centuries. She turned the examination chamber itself into a weapon. Using the environmental geometry, the force of the drone's own attacks, the momentum generated by their mass, Elsa orchestrated a cascade of mechanical failures. She led one drone into the path of another's strike, used the reinforced walls to redirect kinetic energy, exploited the microsecond delays in their networked response patterns. She fought not as an individual against 3 opponents, but as a conductor orchestrating their mutual destruction. When the last Wave 9 drone collapsed in a shower of sparks and shattered components, the observation deck sat in absolute silence. Wave 10 should have been impossible. The system configured drones to match theoretical combat parameters that existed only in classified military simulations, beings of such physical superiority that they represented nightmares rather than reality. Elsa stood in the center of the examination chamber, her body a map of trauma, one arm useless, breathing ragged blood from a dozen lacerations painting her academy uniform dark. The single Wave 10 drone materialized, a monster of composite armor and synthesized muscle, programmed with combat algorithms from 1,000 warrior cultures. She should have surrendered. Every rational calculation demanded it. Instead, Elsa did something that made Verk's secondary heart skip. She laughed, a short, pained sound that nonetheless carried genuine amusement. "You know what the scariest thing about humans is?" she said to no one in particular, her voice carrying through the chamber's speakers. "We're the species that looked at everything on our planet trying to kill us and decided we were going to be the apex predator anyway." The Wave 10 drone attacked with movements too fast for most observers to track. Elsa met it with a desperation that transcended technique, a savagery that came from something deeper than training. Every species in the galaxy understood survival instinct, but what they witnessed in those final moments was something uniquely human, the refusal to accept defeat even when defeat was certain. Elsa didn't win through strength or speed. She won because she was willing to sacrifice everything, break every bone, tear every muscle, push past every biological safety limit her body possessed, for one more second of combat effectiveness. When the drone's combat claw pierced her side, she used the proximity to drive her functioning hand into its primary power coupling, accepting catastrophic injury to deliver a critical strike. When both of them collapsed, the human and the machine, the examination chamber's emergency medical systems engaged instantly. The silence in the observation deck stretched for 17 seconds before anyone could formulate words. Verk was the first to move, his massive form sprinting toward the medical bay where automated systems were already stabilizing Elsa's injuries. The human's eyes were still open, still aware, even as regenerative nanites worked to prevent her from dying. "Why?" Verk asked, his translator struggling with the complexity of his emotional state. "Your body is not built for this. Why push beyond all reasonable limits?" Elsa's response came out as barely a whisper, but the medical bay's systems amplified it. "Because on Earth, reasonable limits are just suggestions. We're Deathworlders, Verk. We just forgot to develop the muscles to prove it, so we developed the minds instead." In the days that followed, the examination footage would be disseminated throughout the Galactic Military Academy's network, then to military installations across the Coalition. The term Deathworlder had traditionally referred to species from high-gravity, high-danger worlds that produced physically superior warriors. Elsa's examination forced a redefinition. A Deathworlder, the new classification stated, was any species that had survived planetary conditions severe enough to evolve extraordinary adaptation mechanisms, whether physical or mental. Earth, with its viral pandemics, its predator biodiversity, its climate extremes, its geographical isolation that forced evolutionary innovation, qualified in ways the Coalition had failed to recognize. Humans weren't weak. They had simply optimized for different survival parameters: endurance over strength, adaptability over specialization, mental resilience over physical invulnerability. Verk visited Elsa in the medical bay 3 days later, after regenerative treatments had healed the worst of her injuries. She sat cross-legged on the recovery bed, reviewing tactical analyses of her own examination. "They're calling it the Deathworlder Doctrine now," he said, his mandibles arranged in respect. "Combat efficiency through adaptation rather than overwhelming force. You've changed how we understand warfare." Elsa looked up from her datapad, her expression thoughtful. I didn't change anything. I just showed you what humans have always known. We're not the strongest or the fastest or the most durable, but we're the ones who never stop figuring out how to win anyway. She extended her hand. A human gesture Verk had learned meant respect between equals. His massive primary hand engulfed hers carefully, mindful now of human fragility and human strength existing simultaneously in the same small frame. They thought I was weak, Elsa said quietly. I let them think it, because underestimation is the first tactical advantage humans learn to exploit. Outside the medical bay, the galaxy was slowly coming to terms with a new reality. Humanity had arrived, and they had redefined what it meant to be dangerous.